Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Stacy Varghese, and I'm the Director of Leadership Annual Giving and Engagement at St. John's University. Today, we have Susan Ginsberg O'Sullivan, who will begin a three-part series on building a resume. Today's focus will be on the body. Some housekeeping rules before we begin. If you have a question, please submit it on the bottom right in the Q&A section to host, and they will be answered at the end of the presentation. A recording of this webinar will be available to you on the Alumni Professional Development page on the university site. Now, I'm excited to introduce our speaker. Susan Ginsberg O'Sullivan is a New York City-based certified executive and leadership coach and certified Daring Way facilitator, helping busy professionals make positive change. She specializes in career and personal development, career strategies, career transitions, leadership coaching, and workshop facilitation. Susan sat on the board of the International Coaches Federation's New York City chapter until December 2018. Also, as a certified therapy dog handler, Susan and her dog Bertha bring smiles to many in the local community. Welcome, Susan. I will hand the webinar controls over to you now.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Stacy. Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to, here we go again. Every time I try to do this, it doesn't move when we first start. I don't know. Well, okay, here we go. I think this is part 2, not part 3 of building a resume. Last month we focused on the summary. Today we're going to focus on the body of a resume. And please, if you have questions, I urge you to put them in the chat box. I want to make this as conversational as we can. I know I can't hear you, but I can certainly read your questions. Okay, so let's get going. So the resume is basically, it's a compilation of your work history, your education, any of your credentials and your accomplishments. Last month we talked about the profile, the summary. We're going to talk today about the work experience, the education, any technical skills, volunteer languages, and any honors, awards, and memberships. So let's review. Why do we have a resume summary? So, you know, we've spoken about that recruiters spend no more than 5 seconds on a resume. And so we want to make sure that that top portion of your resume, you are telling the story about who you are in a few sentences. That's where the recruiters' eyes are going first. Remember, they're really, really busy. And so they're making assumptions about you based on what you're saying at the top of the resume. So you want to make sure that it's high level, that it's giving them a clear understanding of who you are, and you're focusing on your top selling points. So the summary is important for anyone who is looking to change a career, as a recent graduate, or any experienced professionals. So we talked about last month, we talked about your professional brand. And so the summary at the top is a way for you to do that. So we talked about creating a headline. Who are you is the headline. And so here's a couple of examples. One is a field medical affairs director. The subhead of this person is that they focus on infectious disease, virology, health outcomes, and ophthalmology. An IT project management, maybe that's what your career is or what you want to do. And so what are the subheads that fall underneath that title? It could be an analyst, application support, business flow, agile, consultant. And I think that says consultant, I don't know, it's agile certified. And then a project management executive. So they're a technical leader, they're a transformation builder, they're a strategist. Again, so we talk about who are you at a very, very high level, and then what are some of the subheads that describe you. Now, you don't need to have the sub if you don't want, but again, how much information can you give the recruiter so they get an understanding of who you are, and what are those keywords, the keywords that they're looking for, that they put into the applicant tracking system. So you want to make sure that that you're using those keywords, not only in the heading, not only in the summary, but peppered throughout your entire resume. Okay, we're not moving again. Come on. No, we're not moving. Wait a second. Okay, here we go. So we also talked about how to differentiate yourself. Having a tough time today. So what is the role that you're applying for? Think about that type of role. What are the competencies, achievements, skills, and abilities that you have to offer? What are the attributes that differentiate you from others? What is the company and industry that you're most interested in applying to? And do you have the skills and knowledge that would be useful? And what are the keywords that you're going to use to align with a job description? So these are some of the things you need to be thinking about throughout your entire resume. Okay, so here I've shared this page before for you, and I think it's really important. So this is a summary on the left, like a top summary, versus the job description on the right. And so any job description that you see, you can pretty much figure out what are the keywords that they're looking for. And again, I'm just showing you the job description, the summary right now, but this again would be peppered throughout your entire resume. You would keep using these words. And so on the left, we see that the title, that summary head is Business Development Sales Manager, and the job description on the right is they're looking for Business Development Sales Customer Manager. Again, similar words, similar keywords. And so how do you use that language throughout your entire resume, and not only the summary, but through the body of your resume? Again, this is stuff that you need to be cognizant of, that you need to be thinking about as you're developing your full resume. Okay, so let's talk about the resume guidelines. And the question is, yes, the resume, this workshop is being recorded. Okay, so do the following. The resume should be 1 to 2 pages. And some people say, well, I only heard about one-page resumes. Let me talk about that for a little bit, a couple of seconds. If you've been working for more than 5 years, you're probably going to have more than a one-page resume. I think one-page resumes are for recent grads who haven't had that much work experience. And what I tell my clients is that you should not confine your story to one page. Tell your story, really explain it, and then you can edit it back. But don't start small, start big. Because again, you want to make sure that you're telling the full story and not leaving out any important content that may be applicable to the jobs that you're interested in, or that best describe you as a professional. So do not start small. Explain who you are. The margin should be, 1-inch margins. I typically, when I'm working on resumes, I do 0.6 at the header, 0.6 at the footer, 0.8 on the left margin, 0.8 on the right margin, and I adjust there accordingly. If someone's got a very detailed, dense resume, sometimes I may go 0.7. But again, I don't want to I don't want the copy to be at the very edges. It doesn't look good and it doesn't read well. It makes it very hard to read. So you want to have some white space on your resume. 10 to 15 years of experience max on the resume, and we're going to walk through that. You don't have to put everything from the day you were born to where you are now. Again, you just want to have the most recent, 10 to 15 years. I would say more like 12 to 15 years, but no more than 15. You want the writing to be concise and active. You want to use adjectives that are results focused. And then you want to, here's the next one. You want to have adjectives. You want to use also action verbs, one that starts the sentences. You want to qualify your accomplishments. You want to use leadership words and use the industry buzzwords that you see in not only in their job description, but what you may be even reading about an organization. Again, you want to find out what those buzzwords are. And if you're thinking about changing industries, you want to make sure that that the industry that you want to move into, that you're using their language, not the language from the industry you came from. Okay, so be very aware of how they speak about the work that aligns with the work that you've been doing. Okay, we're going to move along here. Okay, do not do the following. Do not include salary requirements. Do not use pronouns. Do not list references. Do not use abbreviations. Do not include a photo or personal information such as age, marital status, children, hobbies, etc. This has changed a little bit over the years. I mean, we used to, years ago, put down, references upon request, or we would say, hobbies, things that we like to do outside of work. We don't do that anymore. So make sure that you don't include any of that on the resume. Also, abbreviations. The applicant tracking system cannot read abbreviations. It does read ones like P&L, which are sort of very common, but they do not read, if you're in an industry and you have acronyms that you use in the industry, do not include those. You can spell them out and then in parentheses put the acronym, but do not just use the acronym, because again, the ATS can't read it, and the person who's reading the resume may not understand what that is also. So do not use acronyms. Okay, so let's just jump into it. So the resume. So we talked about the headline of who you are as a professional, and then you can have an optional subhead. We talked about this last month. Again, we want to have a summary at the top, explaining who you are, what you've been doing, what's your, the industry, your breadth of experience. You want to include 3 things, maybe at the max. What are you good at? And include skills that you would like to do again. Don't include things you don't want to do. Include the work that you want to do again. And then you can have an option to list your core competencies. And I like listing them because, again, if the recruiter is the person reading the resume, doesn't have a lot of time, and they're looking at those keywords to see if you have project management skills, if you have strategy, budgeting skills, again, you can list those out. If you have team leadership, again, those are the skills that you want them to see right away. All right. So I like having both there, but again, you don't have to. And I'm going to show you some variations on that. I don't know what's going on here, why it doesn't move when I'm, okay. So then you get to the experience. And I apologize, I couldn't get the month year to move over. I don't know why, but okay. So under experience, now you can have the company, you can have the city and state in which you did the work. You could have the month and year to the month and year, or it could be present if it's to present. The job title. And this layout is primarily for someone who's been at a company for maybe a couple of years and has had more than one job at that company. So you have the job title and the month and year you did that title until month, year, or to present. You're going to provide a 1 to 2 sentence overview of what you were responsible for at that position. If you're managing people, you may also want to add in manage a team of 2. Again, then you're going to list your accomplishments. And, you're not going to list 20 of them, but you can list, depending on the job, you can list, like 6, 7, 8, how long you were doing that. If you had a previous job at the company, you're going to put what that previous title was. Same thing, month, year, and then you're going to, same thing, provide a sentence or 2 what you were responsible for in that role and the accomplishments. Now, what changes here is that if you say you were a manager of, you were an analyst specialist or something, and then you got promoted. Now you're doing the same work, but now your title changed. What I suggest you do is stack those 2 titles. So if you go over to the first one, you would have your job title, and underneath it, you would put the previous job title. And then you may want to start the sentence by saying, promoted to lead a team in X, Y, and Z, or promoted to run the X, Y, and Z. Again, you want to show that there was movement, there was progression in that career, in that job with that company. If you had a previous company, then you would start the same thing, the same process over again. You would list the company name, the city, state, the month, year to the month, year. You could also add in a company description if you wanted to. I would start that at the top also. If you want to say what that company does, you may want to put that in there, but you don't need to. We tend to do that more with executive resumes, but again, if you want to, you can do it. Job title, again, same thing. There's 1 and 2 sentence overview, and then your accomplishments. If you're more than 12 to 15 years, the way you would lay it out is you'd have the company name, the city, state, no years. You do not put the years you were there doing it, and the job title. No description of what you're responsible for. Now, if you were at a company, and this is where it gets kind of complicated, where you can you could sort of mix it up a little bit. If you were at a company, say, for a very long time, and I work with people who've been at companies for 20 years, 30 years, you don't want to list all the titles at the company, and you could just list the titles that you had with no description underneath it. But and you put that under the original company, you wouldn't put it under other professional experience. But here again, if it's more than 12 to 15 years, you just list the company name, the city, state, and the job title. That's it. Then you get to the education, you put your degree, the field of study, the institution, and the city and state. Any other degrees that you may have, you also can add in any certifications that you have. And then any other additional information, if you have any professional affiliations, you can create a heading for that. Speaking engagements, you can make make a heading for that. Any published work, you can make a heading for that. Again, you can do lots of different ways of laying all these different things out, and any languages that you may want to add. Also, technical skills, you can add that in. I don't have it here. Oh, yeah, I do have technical. You can put any technical skills there too, and I'm going to show you some examples of how you can present that. Okay. Any questions so far before I move on? I'm seeing more and more modern, here's a question. I'm seeing more and more modern resume templates. Do you recommend sticking to the traditional resume template, or can we use a modern template? You can do, my recommendation is you can do both. If you are uploading your resume to a job board, I would use the traditional resume layout. The ATS cannot read color. It cannot read fancy fonts. And so you want to make sure that you are using the traditional boring layout for posting to job boards. If you are emailing your resume to somebody, then you can have bells and whistles on it. But again, my caution is that when you're doing the bells and the whistles, that you're not letting the design overtake the substance. And so you want to make sure that people are able to read your resume. They know you want to focus on where the eye tracks, and not to let the design overtake it. But you could actually do that. Wait, I got another question here. Sorry, let me just scroll what it says here. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble here. Here's another. Would you add the company that it would have previously known as? What would you add the company that it was have been previously known as? Example, I was hired at one company, was acquired by another. I generally leave it just as the new company, even though the original company has more of the local recognition. So what you can do there is a couple different ways you can do it. You can leave it separate if you'd like. You can also, at the new company, you could put a comma and say a division of whatever that new company is, or old company, whatever you want to do there. Or I would let them know that it's progression, that it's changed. So I can either leave it, you can either leave it separately, or you can put a division of, and you can also add some copy in there about part of the transition from company A to company B, integrated with company A, company B. You can add some other language in there, but there's a couple of different ways you can lay that out. For the profile section, can it be a bulleted point format? Okay, I'm going to show you something. And yes, it can, and I'll show you one of those. Okay. Okay. So this is a global pharmaceutical executive. And so this might answer your question, and I'll get into it. So here we're talking about what this person does as a global pharmaceutical executive. She has her summary at the top, and then she gets into her key competencies. And these are the competencies that she wants the reader to know immediately. So getting back to your previous question, yes, you can do this. You can identify which competencies are most important to you and list them like this, and then put a statement next to them about how that relates to the work that you do. You can also add in, at Genentech, launched 12 new products, but you could put that which delivered X. I mean, you can add you can quantify some of those competencies if you'd like. Now, I've also worked on resumes where they don't have the summary at the top over here. We just go straight into, say, global pharmaceutical executive, and then it would just go right into the keywords here, okay, the competencies here. So again, this is another way you can present it. Think about not spending more than 5 seconds on the resume. What do you want them to walk away with? What do you want the reader to walk away with? What do you want them to know about you? So yes, you can do that. So this is getting more into the professional experience here. So this person was at AstraZeneca. They were oncology business unit vice president of precision medicine from this state to this state. They were a global product portfolio strategy vice president of precision medicine. So here the titles were the same. The changed a little bit in the work they were doing, so we stacked them, okay? And then we wrote a charge with building, leading, and developing the life cycle management strategies for partnership agreements with key diagnostic companies. Managed staff of 5 and a $300 million budget for diagnostic developed partnerships. High overview of what they were responsible for. Now we get to the bullets. So here we use, the verbs. So defined and executed. Reduced operational costs by 60%. Built global diagnostics. Successfully collaborated across business units. Led the incorporation of a diagnostic field team. Drove awareness. Implemented. Partnered. Again, what are the key words, the action verbs that describe what your accomplishments and successes are or were at your company or former company. Then we get to the other experiences. This was a kind of a long resume, so I just wanted to pick some highlights here. So that person was at Biogen in Cambridge, Mass. Their title was Drug Safety and Medical Information Specialist. Also worked at St. Elizabeth's Medical Center in Boston. They were clinical pharmacists, nephrology, and again, so you see how we're laying it out. Then we get to the education, put the most recent on top. So this is where they got the master's, then the Doctor of Pharmacy, and the Bachelor of Science and Languages. Okay. I want to see, did I get any more chats here? I can't, okay. All right. There's another chat before I go on. So what if you worked for the same company twice, but took other jobs in different companies in between, then came back to the old company? Would you combine the old and new experience or try to integrate list chronologically? No. You want to make sure that the years are flowing in order. So this person here, she actually was at AstraZeneca previously, like in her early part of her career. So it's listed there twice on the resume. Okay. So again, you want to separate them out because you want the reader to see how your career has progressed. All right. Okay. So here's another one. Here's a field medical affairs director. She's got the subhead, infectious disease specialist, health outcomes and ophthalmology. So here we have the summary at the top, who the person is, what she's responsible for doing. And then we put in the core competencies at the top. Sorry that I couldn't get the type to match the size, but you get the idea, hopefully. These are the key competencies that you want the reader to know about the work that she does. And then this person worked at Tetraphase Pharma and in Watertown, Massachusetts, the title. And then again, the description of the work. And again, getting down to the action words that describe what she did at the company. Okay, prior to that, she was at Genentech. And again, so this is the years that she was at Genentech. Her most recent position was this, oversaw all the educational and training plans. And then again, focusing on those action words, developed, reduced, negotiated, defined. Again, being very clear about what you did or are doing at your company or former company. And you should be quantifying as much as you can. That's really important too. Education. Oh, look, Doctor of Pharmacy, St. John's University. Yay. Bachelor of Science, Managed Pharmaceutical Care and Economic Outcomes Doctoral Program, Fellowship, American Society of Health. So again, listing all of the education that this person has had. So again, the most recent one at the top and everything else going down after that. Professional affiliations. So this person, again, talking about all the affiliations that she was part of, adding them there, her professional licensures, military service, and any volunteerism that the person has done or is doing. And if it's previous, you would want to, and I think what we would have done here, this resume is not that new, we would have added the years that they're doing the volunteer service. And anything that's over, I would say, 7 or 8 years, 9, 10 at the max, I would take them off. I wouldn't put them on there. It gets just too old. Now we get to IT project management. So this is an IT project manager person. They're an analyst, application support, business flow, agile certified. So it was important for this person to let the reader know at the top that they are agile certified. Because again, in the job description, this is what they might be looking for. So they wanted the reader to know at the top. We get to the summary. And here, instead of getting into the competencies with technology, I think it's important to bring the technical skills to the front. And so what we did here, we broke it out by different areas. So we had different platforms, programming and programming software, scripting software, corporate and scheduling software, business software, market data applications. This is really important for, again, someone who's in a technical position, because you want the reader to know right away, what your skills are. Don't wait. I don't think it should be on the back page. And if you're not a technical person, yes, you could put it to the back page, some of your technical skills you have, or you can add it in some of your competencies. But this is what this person does. And so it's really important that they get an idea of their full range of skills right up front. Any questions about this?
Susan, I do see three questions. Sorry about that. I do see 3 questions that came in. One of them is, what if you added a title but did not get rid of your title or responsibility? Do you still stack?
What if you added a title but did not get rid of your title? So you mean you previously, can you give me an example of what that was? So if you were like a marketing manager and then became a marketing director, is that what you're talking about? Oh yeah, definitely stack them, definitely. And if that was a promotion, I would make the assumption that that was a promotion, that I would say promoted to lead. When you're a manager, you're supporting, and as a director, you're now leading more. So I'm making that assumption without having heard any more information. But again, yes, you want to identify that you were promoted. You want to make people know that.
Second question, would you like list certifications before or after education?
After.
And lastly, would you advise putting competencies in bulleted format with tabs or use a table?
Okay, the ATS does not read tables, so I would not use a table. How I do is I just use columns or tabs. Yeah, they can't read tables, so don't put anything in a table on your resume. ATS can't read it.
Okay, thank you.
And if you want to learn more about there's so much information on the web about ATS. I definitely do your homework about that. You want to make sure that, the worst thing that can happen is you have a really good resume, but because the way some things have laid out, it just goes into the black hole and doesn't get discovered. That's terrible. So you want to make sure that you are following, you're not going to outsmart the ATS, but you don't want it to just put you in the black hole. And I'm not saying things can't get through, but my suggestion is just try to follow as best you can. Okay, so this person is, as I said, is an IT person. So again, she was at a previous position and they came after her. So she was recruited to build a complex distribution platform. So again, that's a strong word, recruited, showing that someone was coming after you. They really wanted you. Again, think about what you do and how you got to that job. And then again, I just highlighted some of the keywords that describe the work that she was doing. So ATS formatting. So this falls into some of the things we're just talking about. So when formatting, you want to use round circle bullets, bold text only as needed. I tend to just do it in headings and in titles. That's really it. And caps, again, only where needed. I tend to do that just as a heading and in the company name. Use months and years. Do not abbreviate months like, January, Jan, or March, MAR. Spell it out or use the numbers. I like using the numbers because sometimes there's so much content on the page. I think using numbers just makes it a little cleaner, gives it, again, more of the white space. Remove underlining, remove shading. Headers and footers, you should not have your name or anything in a header or footer. It well, like the top of the resume where it has your contact information, do not have that in the header. You can put in the header on page 2 with your email address and name, but that's it. Again, because it won't read anything else. Italics is not recommended. Graphics, no. Color fonts, no. Borders, no. Photos, no. When you're uploading, follow the job board instructions. They'll tell you whether or not they can accept a PDF, but most of the times it's really just a doc or docx. Okay. So let's talk about some key resources here. JobScan. Okay, so JobScan is a great resource to see how your resume aligns with a job description. They will tell you if you have the right keywords, what's missing or not missing. Caution, you're never going to get to 100%. So do not spend a lot of time there. Again, they give you, I think, like maybe 5 free opportunities to check how your resume lines up against a job description. After that, you have to pay. My suggestion is not to pay. So you'll get the handle of what it's like afterwards, because what happens is that you get so focused on JobScan that what you're not doing is looking for a job, because you get sucked into that, that I don't know, what do you want to call it, that whirlpool of trying to get your resume to 100%, and you're never going to get there. But I think it's a good thing to try, to use, and then just go for it. Just go for it. Make sure you're hitting all the right things that they're suggesting, and then just get yourself out there. Start, of course, networking is number one, but then start, applying for jobs. Keyword exercise. So go to a job board like Indeed.com. Enter the keywords that you think best describe the work that you do, and see what jobs come up. And then identify those themes that you're seeing in those job descriptions, and see if they match your skills, and add those words to your resume. Again, so there's lots of ways out there to figure out what you need to add to your resume or not add to your resume. So take advantage of those. So please, if you have questions, let's talk right now, because we have plenty of time. But again, the resume is your history of your career, and it should not. Don't feel you have to put the whole kitchen sink in there. Again, put the content in there that describes the work that you want to do and that you've succeeded at. And use the ATS. Think about the ATS. Think about those keywords. Remember that the top portion of the resume is recruiters spend no more than 5 seconds there. So what do you want the recruiter, the hiring manager, to know about you at the very top? And then when you get to your history, make sure, or your work experience, make sure that you were telling the story of the work you do, what you were responsible for, what you succeeded, what are the accomplishments, quantify, reduce costs by 50% by doing X, Y, and Z, increase this, use the words that show how you succeeded at the work that you were hired to do. And, my other recommendation is you got to network. You can't rely on the resume to do the work for you. You have to go out there and start talking to people. And just to bring it all together. And when you're networking, you're not bringing your resume, because networking, resume equals looking for a job. Networking means getting information. So don't confuse the two, but networking can lead you to a job. And so how do you start talking to people to find out what's it like to work at that company, how your skills may align, and getting that data, so then you can hopefully adjust your resume and start applying for jobs at that company. Or again, hopefully the networking will lead to a hiring manager who can make introductions, or maybe there's a hidden job market where there may be a job already posted. So what questions does everyone have for me? Because we've sort of finished up a little early. Any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
What about returning to the workforce after more than 10 years absence? Should I include dates?
So if you've been out of the workforce for a number of years, a couple of things. One is you might want to create a functional resume, and I didn't include one here. A functional resume, because you've been absent from the workforce. I mean, you could create a chronological resume. That's fine. People may say to you, like, what happened, why have you been working for 10 years, and you need to be able to tell that story. But if they look at a chronological one, they may question what's going on. They may make assumptions. And so a functional resume is, we could sort of, you know the resume that I did, let me just show you, let me go back here. So what you can do in this one, when I talk about the, we talk about the competencies and we break them out, you may want to have that as your resume, the top of your resume, breaking out the areas that you are known for and what are the skills that you possess. And you can go into more detail here about what you've done. And then when you get to your work experience, you know, on the next page, because this would probably be a full first page, you can then just go into where you previously worked. I do have examples of that. I don't have one here where I did one for a person, but again, you know, she had been out of the workforce for a long time, raising her children, and then she wanted to go back. And so what we did is we just highlighted her competencies and what she did and told her story there.
Are links accepted on a resume? Example, a company link within the work experience part.
Yes, you can do that. You can do that. You could do that. Yeah.
I have over 15 years experience in my field. May I omit days from all jobs listed? May I group all the experience I have gained early in my career in general terms, like gained experience litigating commercial matters in federal and state courts at various small New York City law firms. Details available on request.
Again, remember, I'd have to see what that looks like, but I think that, remember, you know, you're having an ATS read it, so I don't know if they'll totally get that. But if a person is reading it, I don't know if they'll get to that section. Again, they'll focus on the first page. If they like what they're reading, they'll go to the back page. I would try to include some of that copy in the first page. You know, maybe if you do a bullet like this one here, we have the key competencies. If you had, you know, if you created a heading around some of that legal work that you did, you may want to create a title for that, and then explain what you just read. Let me see if I can find that here. No. If I could say it clearer. I don't see that here, but anyway, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Do I need to list dates of bar admissions? For example, JD, St. John's University, 1983, admitted New York, 1984, Federal District Courts, 1985, and Federal Circuit Court, 1995.
Yes. So the thing about legal resumes is that they like to see from the day you were born. They like to really see the progression of your legal career. So legal is one of those resumes where you can add in the day, you know, the way you first started working and those years. But I would still group them under previous, you know, experience, and just put them there, and you could put the years in so they could see the progression.
After having a Wall Street job, I left and worked for my family business in that time. I changed careers because financial markets were tough. Now I'm in the social work field, but looking for something in finance again. How do I show my transition?
Again, the resume is your history. So you have to put the history down. You can, in your summary at the top, can tell your story a little bit, you know, high level, what you do, putting in your competencies, you know, what you do. But the cover letter, which we're going to talk about next month, is where you can give some more information. Remember, the resume is your history. You can't tell the whole story here. You don't have the time, and no one's going to read it. So I would focus on the skills you have, the work you've done, the successes you've achieved, and then in the cover letter, and what you could do also after the summary, you could say diverse experience in, and list the different industries that you've had diverse experience in. That's what I do on my resume, because I've worked in, you know, publishing, entertainment, nonprofit, startups. So again, I say, you know, diverse experience in, and I list those. So you can do the same thing.
I am a small business owner looking to get involved in education. I have volunteer experience in education, but lack of professional experience. Should I lead with my volunteer experience before my specific professional experience?
If the volunteer experience, if you're doing that on a regular basis, like a job, then you can put that like under your experience. Yeah, you could certainly do that. Network. Again, just sending in the resume, it can be harder to get found. You have to start talking to people who are doing the work that you want to do and understand. Ask them what do you need to do to make that transition into a full-time job.
Does
the resume just can't do all of that work for you. You have to do some of the work.
Does the ATS recognize bolded, italicized, or underlined fonts?
It doesn't like italics. I think I said that. It doesn't like everything to be underlined. I think you could do a little bit of it, but again, I would go online and read about it because it keeps changing what it can do and can't. But I would just keep it as plain as you can. I mean, I know it doesn't sound fun or creative, but again, it's not about being that. It's about the words, right? It's a machine reading it. So that's where I focus on.
If currently a student and there is a job gap, would you advise to put education first?
How long were you working prior to going back to getting a different degree, second degree? That person who just asked that question.
Do you suggest adding side hustle business, network marketing business?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, if that work that you're doing on the side is relevant to the job you want to do, absolutely list it. Absolutely. I have clients who are working full-time jobs like in finance, and they own a restaurant in New York City, like a small little restaurant, and they have it on there because that they're doing that. They're doing two things at the same time, and well. So again, I would definitely list it on there. The person that just said they went back to school, I would put the education at the bottom. I wouldn't put it at the top. Again, because they're used to reading it a certain way. And if you've been working for more than 5 years, education should always be at the bottom of the resume. It shouldn't be at the top. If you're a recent graduate, you could put education at the top. Anything more than 5 years out of school, you take the dates off of your education.
This is a follow-up question to that. How and where would you list the side businesses, chronologically or at the bottom under other experience?
If the side business is what you want to do, then I would put it at the top. But I would add it to the top and just leave both at present. The date to present. That's what I would do.
This next question is going back to last month when you spoke about the objective. How do I translate my skills into the objective? I find it very difficult to sell myself and my abilities.
You know what? It's hard. It's really, really hard. It's hard. We're so used to having a title in front of our name or a company in front of our name. And when we take all that away, what's left is just us. And so I know it's hard. And it's tough to think about that, but bullet it. Write down what you do. Write down what you were responsible for what did the company hire you? Write that down, and then think about, what is it that you do that you really like doing. Again, let me just go to a different one because this is kind of a senior executive one. Let me see. So this one here, so she's talking about having a proven ability in implementing successful strategies that influence decision makers and drive results. In your role, what have you succeeded at? What are you good at doing? What are you known for? So this person here, she's recognized or known for developing and implementing innovative business tools, navigating through change, business environments. Again, think about what is it you're doing. I know it's really hard, but it doesn't have to be this deep. It doesn't have to be 6 sentences here. It's 6 rows. It could just be 2 sentences, high level, and then focus on the competencies that we have right here. But again, you got to write something. They're looking for that. They're not going to read your experience only. And, maybe you can write it and have someone read it and see what they say. Work with, if you're still in school, work with some, other students. If you've got a community or friends, family, just have them read it and see if they think that describes you. Current colleagues, if this describes you, and ask people for help.
Thank you. I think you answered all the questions.
No, someone wants to go back to the job scan slide.
Sure.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions about job scan? There's tons of resources out there, to take advantage of. But again, the resume is only going to do so much work. You have to do majority of the work. And if you're just applying for jobs online, it's going to take you a long time to find a job. It just takes longer because you can see how many people are applying for jobs. If 1,000 people are applying for one job, that's like throwing a needle into the ocean. You have to network your way into a company, see if you know anybody who is at that company who can either get your resume in front of somebody or is willing to have a conversation with you. Again, you have to do more than just uploading your resume because it takes a long time to do that. We've spoken about LinkedIn. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date. Make sure you are connecting with everybody that you know, because then you will see who they're connected to, and they may know people who are at a company that you're very interested in learning more about or even working for. And so you have to do more than just upload your resume. The resume can only do so much. It is important. I do think LinkedIn is sometimes even more important because you're out there publicly. And so what you can do now is take your resume once it's complete. You do not upload your resume to LinkedIn. No, that's not the best practice. But what you can do is you can take the heading that you have on your resume, you can put it under your name. You can, about section, you could pick up the summary at the top of your resume, put it in the about section, but you could write it in the first person. I am a healthcare X. You could just make it more conversational. Here you can write that you've been, how you've taken time to raise a family and now you're ready to get back into the workspace and bring your, and LinkedIn gives you that opportunity to tell that story. The resume does not give you that opportunity. So use LinkedIn as a way to tell that story. You have 2,000 characters in the about section to tell it, and make sure you put those keywords in there also.
We have a few questions that just came in. Does leaving dates off education as bar admissions more than 5 years out apply or not apply to legal resumes?
Legal resumes, you can leave that in there. You can leave it in. They want to know that. Legal resumes are just different than other ones. They like to know where you started to see the progression.
Should we create a resume for every job title, although they may overlap?
I think what my colleagues and I agree on is that the body of the resume pretty much is what it is. The summary, you get to adjust some of the competencies. So if a company is looking for different competencies than you have it there, I wouldn't put all, I don't think you need more than 9 competencies. Anything more than that, I think, is overkill. So you may want to take 1 or 2 out and put different ones in there. But I wouldn't spend a lot of time there because you can get sucked into that. So to me, it's like focus on the networking, focus on having the conversations. Don't get sucked into having to keep updating your resume, because what you're going to find out when we talk next month about cover letters, thank you letters, and networking letters is that they take a lot of time, especially the cover letters. And so, I would rather you focus on, getting the cover letters right, being focused on, how someone can get to know you, see a little bit more of you as a professional in the cover letter, than keep spending so much time on the resume. Because again, resume is your history. But if you need to change some of the competencies, go for it.
If you are a new graduate who hasn't worked in the field that you're applying to, what should you focus on in your resume?
So if you're a new graduate, you would have your education at the top. You may want to have an objective. I think we spoke about that last month, about the objective. You're looking for, a position within X industry, an entry-level position in X industry. And then, any of your work experience you put down there, any internships that you did, you just put it down chronologically, and you have your education at the top.
Great. Last question. Is it worth to call out over X years of experience or not include in the summary?
Not include it. People are calculating. If you say, well, I've got 20 years of experience, what that person who's reading the resume may be thinking, old. And that's the last thing you want people to think, is that old. And so I like to say, extensive experience, expertise in, find other words that describe that you have expertise. You've been working, you've been succeeding at doing what you're doing versus letting the years drive it. When I hear people say, well, I've spent 20 years at, X ABC company, it's like people are calculating. They're doing the math. And if you're being interviewed or spoken to by a recruiter who's 1 or 2 years out of college, again, they may be making assumptions. And so let's not give them the opportunity to make assumptions. Let's focus on what we do and how we're good at what we do and how we've succeeded at what we do. That's what I would focus on. Don't let the years drive it.
One just came in, and I think this could be the last one. I've been with my current media company for 16 years. Should I remove dates from the entire resume, including education?
Education, yes. If you're currently at the company, like I said, you can list all the work you've done for 60. That's fine. And if your job that you started is more than 15 years, you just might want to put the title and you can put I just put the title and you can put the years there, because at the top you're gonna say whatever 16 years minus today is, this year to present or end date. Yeah. Again, there's lots of different ways you can present, but just make sure that the keywords are in the resume, that you're not using abbreviations, that you're not going into so much detail. Keep it high level. When you're talking about your accomplishments. We've spoken in previous workshops about the SOAR stories, the situation, the obstacles, the actions, and the results. When you think about the work you've done, right on the resume, we're just doing the results. When you're talking to someone, you can go into the whole SOAR story, but right now, and we're not going to go into that now, but the result, what is the result of the work that you were hired to do? Focus on the result and quantify if you can. Not everything is quantifiable, but where you can quantify.
Thank you, Susan. Right. I think we answered them all.
All right. All right. Well, everyone, you have a good day. Have a good weekend.
Great.
See you next month.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And a special thank you to Susan for such an informative presentation. For Susan's full bio, please go to stjohns.edu/APD series. Here you'll also find a schedule of upcoming webinars and past recordings. I hope you will join us next month, Thursday, April 29th at 9 a.m., where we will complete our networking series on building a resume and discuss the networking letter, cover letter, and thank you letter. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day. Thanks, Susan.
Bye.